The glass didn't break into tiny pieces. It just cracked. It sighed, like it was tired, and rolled slowly across the wooden floor. It rolled like it had somewhere more fun to be. The glass spun around once, slow and wobbly. Then it bumped into the leg of a stool. It made a soft sound, a quiet click. That was the last sound anyone heard. Jason Statham was on the floor. His breath stopped halfway in his throat. One of his hands was on the wood. The other was holding his side, like something inside hurt really bad. There was a little blood near his mouth. Not a lot. Just a little bit, the kind you might not notice unless someone points at it. He didn't groan. He didn't shout. The crowd didn't move. Jason just breathed through his nose. Short, sharp breaths. Like each breath had a name, and he knew them all already. Like he had felt this pain before. Across the bar, the man who hit Jason was standing still. He didn't smile. He didn't look mad. He was just still. His name was Langford. No one said his name out loud. Not the bartenders. Not the people who worked there. Not the visitors who just wanted a quiet night and got something they'd never forget instead. The music had stopped. But not because someone turned it off. The bartender's hand just froze in the air, hovering above the screen like time had paused. A woman near the jukebox opened her mouth to say something, but then she closed it. The words stayed inside. The only thing that kept moving was the ceiling fan. It turned slowly, like it didn't care what happened below it. Jason moved, just a little. He reached one finger across the floor until he touched the leg of a stool. He didn't try to stand up. Not yet. He just wanted to feel if the ground was still there. One of the event staff, a man in a nice suit, with kind eyes and a worried face, reached for his phone. Then he stopped. He put it back in his pocket. Like the phone was hot and might burn his hand. Some other people held up their phones too. But no one pressed the record. They didn't want to film it. But they also didn't want to miss it. Langford didn't look proud. He looked sad. Not at Jason, but at everyone else. Like he was testing the room. And no one had the courage to stop him. He looked around the bar. His face calm. His eyes going from the dartboard to the empty glasses, to the people who looked frozen. Then he looked back at Jason. But Jason wasn't looking at him. Jason's eyes were looking past Langford. Near the wall, there was a boy. He was maybe 10 or 11. He wore a hoodie that was too big. His eyes were wide, like he didn't understand what was happening. The boy stood beside his big brother, who didn't know what to do with his drink. The boy just stared, like he was watching a movie that didn't know how to end. Jason looked back at the boy, just for a moment. Half a second. But it was enough. Jason blinked once, like he was saying, "Remember this." Then slowly, he started to stand. Not fast. Not like a hero. One knee first. A breath. Then the other knee. The kind of stand a man makes not because he's winning, but because someone needs to see him get up. No one gave him a hand. No towel. No chair. Even the men who had shaken his hand earlier turned away and looked at their drinks, like their friendship had a timer. Jason stood straight. He didn't look at Langford. He just made sure he could hold his own weight. His breath was low. The blood was still at the corner of his lip. The boy by the wall still hadn't moved. Jason saw him, held that picture in his mind. Then he breathed out, through clenched teeth. Not to look cool. Just to remind himself he still could. The gym didn't smell like sweat. It smelled like old chalk, dried floor polish, and rubber mats. The kind of mats that had felt more people falling than winning. The lights above buzzed softly. Sometimes they flickered, like they needed fixing, but no one had the money. Jason stood next to the boxing ring. He was tying gloves onto a boy. The boy's arms were so skinny. The straps looked too big. Jason didn't talk much. He asked kids their names, what food they liked, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Most said things like firefighter or soccer player. One kid said, just safe. Jason didn't flinch. He just tightened the gloves and said, good choice. The place was called Breakline. It was a free boxing program for kids. Kids who didn't have a place to go after school. No ads. No sponsors. Just a few helpers. A gym they borrowed from a school. And lots of hope packed into every locker. Jason didn't just give them money. He trained with them. Hold the mitts. Showed them how to move their feet. Taught them how to punch. Without falling or running out of breath. He didn't make big speeches anymore. Not since the last time. He remembered it like a sharp object left in a drawer. A few years ago. He stood at a podium. At an event called The Fight That Wasn't a Fight. He said something simple. Something true. Maybe too true. Fighting isn't about power, he said. It's about staying up. When everything around you tells you to fall. People filmed the speech. It went online. But not for the right reasons. Some people cut it. Twisted it. And turned it into a clip about toxic masculinity. People who had never been inside a gym shared it and wrote headlines. Things got bad fast. Sponsors left. Emails stopped. Breakline almost had to close. Jason didn't post a video. Didn't make a long post online. He just sent more of his own money. And kept showing up at the gym. Later, a big group called the International Martial Arts Summit asked him to come speak in Belfast. He said no. Twice. They offered more money. Said his name would be on signs. Said he'd get applause, interviews, and articles. He still said no. The third time, he said yes. But with one rule. He wouldn't talk. No red carpet. No reporters. No big speech. Just being there. They didn't like it. But they said okay. What they didn't know was this. Jason sent all the money they gave him. Straight to Breakline. He did it quietly. Through an assistant. No credit. No news story. Just a wire with a note. For new gloves and floor tape. Back at the gym. A girl landed a right jab on her friend's shoulder. She laughed. Like it mattered more than school grades. Jason smiled. The real kind. The kind where your eyes wrinkle a little. One of the coaches walked over. Holding an envelope. It had Jason's name on it. And the printed speech inside. You sure you don't want to use it? The coach asked. Jason looked at the paper. He folded it once. Then again. Slid it back into the envelope. And set it on the chair beside his bag. I don't need applause, he said. I just need them to have somewhere. They won't get hit for being kids. The coach didn't say anything. Just nodded. A soft kind of respect. Outside, it had started to rain. Not a storm. Just quiet rain. Like it had nowhere else to be. The bar hadn't changed much. Maybe some new paint. Maybe new glasses behind the counter. But the bones were the same. Belfast didn't try to become something new. It just stacked time like old wallpaper. Hoping the past would stay quiet. If enough dust settled on top of it. Jason sat 2 tables from the far wall. A glass of soda water in front of him. The lime is still sitting on the rim. His ribs hurt. Not in a sharp way. In a quiet way that hums under your skin. Across the room. Langford sat too. One boot hooked under the leg of a stool. The other tapped a rhythm that didn't match any music. Not that there was music. No one had pressed play since the punch. The air in the bar felt heavy. Like the silence had teeth. Langford wasn't drinking. He just stared. Not at Jason. Past him. Like the man he saw wasn't the one sitting there. But the one from 15 years ago. The younger Jason. With smoother skin. Cleaner breath. And gloves too big. For his pride. Jason saw someone looking at him. He noticed the stare but didn't look back. He just let it go. He turned his eyes to the wall next to him. It was full of pictures in frames. Bars like this always had pictures like these. They were like memories, stuck on the wall like little stories. There were black and white photos, autographed posters, and old fight pictures. Right in the middle, a little crooked, was a photo of Jason and Langford. They were both in boxing clothes with gloves still on. They were smiling, but their faces looked tired and sweaty. Langford had his arm around Jason's shoulder, and Jason was giving a thumbs up. Behind them, the crowd looked blurry, like someone added them later with a computer. Jason looked at that picture for a long time. He tried to remember how that moment felt. He remembered how heavy the gloves were. He remembered how empty the cheers sounded. That fight wasn't real, not fully. It was just a show. A pretend match between a movie star like Jason and a local boxing hero like Langford. But even the kids in the cheap seats knew something was wrong. Langford was faster, stronger, and clearly better for the first 2 rounds. But then something changed. Suddenly, a man named Stallone walked into the building. And in the next round, Langford dropped his hands. He moved slower. He took a soft punch from Jason and fell down. He made it look big and painful. It looked like he was told to do it. Jason had wanted to help Langford get up. But someone outside the ring waved no. So Jason stayed back. The referee counted. The crowd cheered, but not very quickly. It felt strange. Langford stood back up. His eyes didn't look hurt. They looked like something inside him was taken away. And he was being told to smile like nothing happened. The next day, the newspapers called it a noble thing. They said Jason proved he could fight with the best. But Jason knew it wasn't the truth. And Langford knew too. That was the last fight Langford ever had. Now, across the bar, Langford stood up. He moved slowly, like every bone in his body had to wake up first. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. "You remember that fall, Statham?" he said. Jason didn't answer right away. Langford stepped closer. His voice was quiet but tight, like he was holding in something big. "They paid me to fall," Langford said. "They told me it was better for the movie. Said you needed to win." Jason looked up, not angry, not scared. Just tired. "I didn't ask for it," he said. "They didn't give me a choice to lose either." Langford's jaw moved like he was biting his own feelings. "You got to stand," he said. "I had to disappear." Jason nodded toward the photo on the wall. "That smile wasn't real," he said. "Not mine. Maybe not yours either." The bartender, who had been quiet the whole night, wiped the counter with a cloth. Then he wiped it again. He whispered, not loud but still heard by everyone. "That day, neither of you got what you were promised." Both Langford and Jason heard it. Something in the room changed, not like a hug or saying sorry, just a quiet feeling. Like everyone finally understood what had really happened. They were both part of someone else's story. And maybe they both still wanted to tear that story apart. Langford didn't say what he was going to do next. He just walked forward slowly. It looked like he was pulling the air with him. The space between him and Jason got smaller. It felt heavy. Old feelings filled it. Then bam, he punched Jason in the chest. Not to the face. Not to show off. Just to take his breath away. It wasn't a loud punch. But the whole room went quiet. Jason fell back. His air was gone. He hit the table, then the floor. He didn't scream. He didn't ask for help. His hands moved without thinking, trying to protect his ribs. Langford stood over him. He didn't laugh. He didn't yell. He was just there, like this was the moment he had waited for. No one else in the bar moved. Someone adjusted a chair too late. That was all. Jason blinked. He looked, not at Langford, but at the little boy by the wall. "You want a stage," Jason whispered in his head. "Pick one without blood." The boy was still there, but now his face looked different. Not scared. Not amazed. Just confused. Like he had believed in something, and now he didn't know what to believe anymore. Jason tried to move his elbow. Tried to breathe. But the air wouldn't come back. He didn't care about the pain. He cared about what the boy was learning. What happens when good people stay quiet? At the bar, Naomi was already moving. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She reached into her coat and took out her phone. Her fingers typed fast. "He's not hitting back. You will. Please." She looked at it for a second. Then she hit send. The message flew like a flare in the night. It didn't go to a name. Just a number. The same number Jason told her only to use if it was serious. If he couldn't stand up. Outside, the rain got stronger. The kind of rain that didn't wash anything away. It just showed the dirt that was already there. Langford didn't move. He looked down at Jason. He was waiting, for a punchback, for a yell, something. But Jason didn't give him anything. He reached for the table. His body shook, not from fear, but because he refused to give up. Langford turned away. Not because he was done, but because it didn't feel right. Like punching water. No splash. No sound. Behind the bar, the bartender looked at Naomi. Then down at his own phone, not to record, just to check if the signal worked. Far away, across Belfast, a phone buzzed. In a quiet room, the screen lit up. Sylvester Stallone sat there. He looked at the message. The only punch that mattered. He didn't smile. He didn't curse. He just nodded, like a man who knew he would be needed one day. The back door opened. It didn't squeak. It didn't crash. It just slammed shut behind him. Not loud, but strong. Like a sentence with a period at the end. Everyone in the bar turned, not knowing why yet. Cold air rushed in. And the room, already quiet, got even colder. Stallone stepped inside. No spotlight. No music. Just his boots on old wooden floors. He wasn't wearing anything fancy. Just a black coat, wet at the bottom. His collar was up to block the Belfast rain. His face didn't ask, "Do you know me?" His face told them, "You already do." Langford turned to look. He didn't look scared. He looked curious, like he was seeing someone step out of a painting. Stallone walked slowly. He didn't rush. Every step was strong. He didn't look at Jason yet. He looked right at Langford. When Stallone spoke, his voice wasn't loud. But everyone heard it. "They told me I wasn't good-looking enough for movies. They said I was too slow, too damaged." He paused. "They said I didn't fit in the picture. But I didn't climb into the frame. I broke it open, with real scars, not fake ones." His words filled the air like thunder without sound. Langford listened. He didn't say anything back. Stallone took one more step. "I didn't come to finish your fight," he said. "I came to finish what it's been doing to you." In the corner, the little boy by the wall moved. He stepped forward, just a little. His big brother tried to pull him back, but the boy shook his head. Quiet but firm. Jason, still on the ground, saw it. The boy knew Stallone. Not just from TV. He remembered a gym in Chicago. Plastic chairs. A man with bandaged hands teaching footwork. Not with drills, but with stories. The boy had been there. Not as a fighter. Just a kid trying to feel brave. And now that same man, the one who taught him to stand up, was standing between him and what he feared most. Naomi saw it too. Her eyes opened wide. Something was about to change. She leaned close to Jason. She whispered softly, like a secret she wasn't sure she should say. "That's Langford's nephew," she said. Jason blinked. He didn't look shocked, just like something finally made sense. Like he found a missing puzzle piece. Stallone was watching the whole time. His eyes stayed on Langford. He didn't look mad. He didn't look like he wanted to fight. He just looked tired, tired of watching people get hurt for reasons they didn't understand. No one in the room clapped. No one cheered. But something changed. Not in the walls, but in the people. Shoulders relaxed. Eyes started to move again. The rain outside kept falling. It had never stopped. And for the first time since the fight started, someone let out a breath, without being afraid or sorry. Langford's hand moved a little by his side. The silence in the room waited, watching, wondering what would happen next. Stallone didn't move. He didn't step back. He just said one thing. "If you want a stage, pick one where the floor isn't covered in blood." Then he nodded, just a tiny bit. It was the kind of nod that ends a talk, before anyone even remembers it started. Langford moved. He looked like a man who had nothing left to protect. He didn't stand tall. He didn't try to look cool. He just moved, like someone tired and ready. His shoulder dipped. His feet pressed into the floor. And then he jumped forward, fast and wild. Like he wasn't fighting for a reason anymore, just because he didn't know what else to do. His first punch came high, swinging towards Stallone's jaw. Stallone didn't punch back. He didn't block it. He simply leaned away, smooth and quiet, like the wind going around a big mountain. The second punch came lower, aiming for Stallone's ribs. It was the kind of punch that could knock a man down. Stallone moved again, just one step to the side. Calm. Careful. Still not fighting. Just making space. Just saying no with his feet. Langford growled. "You're an actor," he said. "You're fake. Just another face, pretending to be real." His voice cracked, not because he was mad, but because he was tired. Stallone stood still. He spoke quietly. "I'm not pretending," he said. "I just lived long enough for people to think I was real." The words didn't yell, but they hit hard. Because the truth doesn't need to be shouted. It just stands there until you run out of lies to throw. Langford swung again. But this time, it wasn't just fists. It was his pain, his sadness, his need to feel important. Stallone moved back, not running away, just saying no. The bar watched. No one talked. No one even breathed too loud. Because this wasn't just a fight. It was something bigger. Langford's breathing got heavier. His punches slowed down. His feet started to drag, like they were getting heavy, like he remembered how the world feels when you're tired. Stallone didn't punch. His body moved a little each time, but his hands stayed down. He was waiting, letting Langford get it all out, letting the noise fade on its own. Then came a pause. Not a long one. Just a moment between trying and giving up. Langford pulled back one more time. His shoulders are tight. His jaw was stiff. One last swing. He wanted to hit something hard enough to make the pain go away. But before it landed, Stallone moved. Just one step. One small twist of his body. Then his right arm moved. Not fast, not fancy, just right. His forearm bumped Langford's shoulder. It changed the direction of the punch. Took away the power. Then Stallone gave one short punch. It wasn't big. It didn't make a big noise. But it landed just under Langford's collarbone. It wasn't enough to knock him out. Just enough to stop him. Langford stumbled back. Like someone had stolen the air from his lungs. He didn't fall. He sat down, on a bar stool behind him. Like the stool decided for him. Stallone didn't chase him. He didn't show off. He just stood still, breathing slow. Jason was still on one knee, watching everything. He understood. This wasn't revenge. It was something more. The bar stayed quiet. Not because they were scared, but because they respected what they saw. Langford didn't look up. His hands rested on his knees, open, empty. Stallone turned to Jason. They looked at each other. No words. Just a shared feeling. Some fights don't end with someone winning. Sometimes they end when someone decides not to throw another punch. Stallone spoke again. Not to Langford. Not to the bar. Just into the silence. "That punch wasn't for your body," he said. "It was for your past." Then he stepped back. Let the silence breathe. Let the past walk away by itself. Now, the story moved to a hospital. The hospital room didn't make noise. It whispered. The lights were soft. The machines blinked slowly. It didn't feel peaceful, just like time was on pause. Jason walked in first. His ribs were wrapped in bandages. He walked carefully but steadily. Stallone came after him. He walked slower. His hands stayed in his coat pockets. His eyes looked around the room, like he'd been in places like this before. Langford was lying in the bed. He wasn't hooked up to any machines. No tubes. No ropes. Just still. The kind of still that comes when you have nothing left to fight for. He didn't look at them. Not yet. His eyes looked out the window. The window was open a little. The gray sky of Belfast came in through the crack. Jason didn't talk. He didn't need to. He stood at the foot of the bed, like a question that already had an answer. He looked around the room. It was simple. No flowers. No cards. Just a plastic cup half full of water. A folded blanket. And on the little table by the bed, there was paper. A flyer. Jason knew it right away. He had helped design it. It was for the Breakline program. A boxing program for kids who had nowhere to go. No promise of fame. Just something to hold on to. The flyer wasn't folded. It was flat and clean. and written in black pen at the bottom corner were 6 words. Derek Langford, volunteer coach, Chew, 5 p.m. Jason stared at the flyer for a moment. A little longer than he meant to. Not because he was surprised, but because it meant something. Stallone stood behind him. He didn't say anything. Just stood there, like something strong but calm. Jason looked at Langford. The man in the bed didn't blink. But he saw them. The stillness wasn't because he didn't care. It was because he was choosing to be still. Jason didn't move closer. He didn't say he forgave him. He didn't say anything. He just looked. And in that moment, there was no winner or loser. Just 2 people who had both lost something. And maybe that was okay for now. A woman named Naomi appeared in the doorway. She was quiet. She didn't want to interrupt. I told him about the program last week, she said. I told him what it did for me. Jason turned to her. Not surprised. Just remembering. She had been a kid too. Different city, same hard life. A kid with fire in her fists and no place to put it. Brakeline gave her a path. And now, maybe she was giving one back. Stallone nodded. Just once. The kind of nod that says everything is connected. Even the parts we try to forget. Jason looked at the flyer again. Then back at Langford. No one said sorry. No one asked for permission. Just a man in a bed. With a chance to start again. And for now, that was enough. The rain outside kept falling. Not loud. Just steady. Like it didn't want attention. It was just there. Jason and Stallone walked through the parking lot together. Step by step. They didn't talk. Not yet. Their coats got wet from the mist. Their breath made little clouds in the air. Then the clouds disappeared. The hospital faded behind them. Gray and quiet. No fans. No cameras. No noise. Just the road. The rain. And the quiet. Jason's ribs still hurt. But the pain was softer now. Not gone. Just not yelling anymore. They got to the car. Stallone opened the door and paused. Jason stood still for one more second. Looking up at the sky. Not for answers. Just to remind himself he could. Then he asked, "Why did you come?" "I told you not to." Stallone looked at him. No pause. "Because I remember what it feels like when no one shows up." His words weren't loud, but they didn't leave room for anything else. Jason nodded. Not to agree. Just to carry the words. They got in. The car doors closed. For a moment, it was like the world went quiet. The engine started. The wipers moved. Outside, everything looked blurry, gray and red. Like old memories. Jason looked at his phone. One new message. It was from the Brakeline Center. He opened it. The message was short. No punctuation. The kid wanted to say thank you. He said he knew who kept his eyes from going dark last night. Jason stared at the screen. Then let the phone rest on his lap. He didn't smile. But his face softened. Outside, the rain kept falling. But inside the car, something felt lighter. Not happy. Not perfect. Just proof. That showing up still matters. Even when no one sees it. Especially then. Enjoyed the story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I always love chatting with you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss the next wild ride. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay curious and keep the adventure alive.